phone, the fabulous Kate Herbert, and she's going to tell us all about two shows she's seen, Sunset Boulevard and The Odd Couple. Hey, Kate.
Hiya, how are you?
Just grand.
I'll start with The Odd Couple.
Yes.
I think what's interesting about it is that it's Neil Simon, who I think is a comic genius. This play was written in 1965, and it's witty, it's laugh-out-loud observational humour about two quirky characters and what would you describe as their even quirkier relationship. It is, I don't know why these people are friends, but they are. So it's Shane Jacobson plays Oscar, who's a rather sort of, scruffy, boozing, gambling, I don't know what he is, a sports journalist. And his mate, Todd McKenney, plays Felix, who's rather stitched up. And people would recognise this from the TV show and the movie. But this play precedes both of those. It's 1965. They're polar opposites, these two. And Felix moves in to live with Oscar, is the short version, and things don't go well because one's very tidy and neat and stitched up and the other is a mess. They've been poker-playing buddies. It's a very peculiar friendship based on their poker game. There's another four men who play their mates at their poker game, and they are also hilarious. It's very funny. And two women who come in, Lucy Durack and Penny McNamee, play them, and they are a riot, English sisters. It is really worth seeing because it's fun and funny, and I enjoyed it more than I expected to because I wasn't certain that Shane Jacobson and Todd McKenney could pull it off. And did you see it, Philippa?
No, I haven't had a chance. We've got Nick Tolhurst here in the hot seat as well, so I'd love to go and see it. So when does it finish?
The date is, let me check, 23rd of June.
Okay, so we've still got a bit of time. Okay, I'll look into it.
Yeah, a bit of time left. So, I don't know, we're probably tight for time, aren't we? Would you like me to move on to Sunset Boulevard?
Yeah, sure.
I've just got a little bit. Yeah, okay. And I think Nick has seen that in the past, and
I have, yes.
Probably the first production. You did, didn't you? Nick, see it in the past?
Yeah, I saw it with Hugh Jackman and Deborah Byrne.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It was a very long time. Somebody said 30 years ago, which I find
I think it's true.
hard to believe.
Yeah,
and
be.
I think I only got tickets because the sales were so bad they were papering the audience. So I didn't pay for them, and on the basis of that, I didn't want to see it again.
Interesting. Well, Deborah Byrne and Hugh Jackman, I think, would have been a very interesting combination, and I didn't see that one. I saw a concert version with Judy Connolly playing it for the production company, so without all the big moving sets, etc. But the interesting thing, I mean, when you say you didn't want to see it again, I can understand. What I found was that, for those who don't know, it's based on it's a rather saccharine, sentimental version, which is an Andrew Lloyd Webber sort of thing, of the Billy Wilder film, Sunset Boulevard, which was quite dark and bitter and biting criticism of Hollywood and the way it treats its artists or mistreats its artists. And Norma Desmond is the faded star who's been off screen for 20 years, silent movie star, and she lives in this mansion and wafts about. So what we've got is the operatic soaring sorts of scores in parts of Lloyd Webber, which I don't know what you thought, Nick, but I was going home singing a Phantom song, and I realised I was singing a song from the wrong musical because a lot of it sounds very like the musical motifs and the orchestral arrangements and even some of the melodies resonant of that earlier one in a rather eerie
he's
way.
often been accused of sort of being a one-note wonder. I think when we saw it, look, it was fantastic, and Hugh Jackman and Deborah Byrne were wonderful. The sets were extraordinary, but I'm afraid, being a very snotty person when 30 years ago, I hope I've improved, but I sat there with my friend and we just said, I pinched that from Puccini, I pinched that from Tchaikovsky. Everything is so derivative that I felt exactly the same sort of thing. I'm not a great fan of Lloyd Webber's. I think Jesus Christ Superstar is a miracle, and after that I haven't been able to. Everything's been downhill since. So I'm very biased, and in fact, I didn't go to see it because I thought I couldn't. I was asked to review it, and I thought I couldn't be kind about it. So how did you feel?
Well, it was unnerving, the echoes of the other musical, and I think that also there's also the mirror of Sarah Brightman. Let's get to that elephant in the room.
Oh yes,
she was played Christian, initiated Christine Daae in Phantom originally when she was, I think, 26 or so, and she hasn't been on the theatrical stage for almost 3 decades in that sort of role. She does recordings, his most sold recordings, from Phantom cast recording, and a lot of her with Bocelli that sold enormously. She did an album, but on stage, 30 years later, it shows that she hasn't been doing any performance, and the voice has lost. Well, I didn't hear her live, but it was very tremulous with far too much vibrato. The second half was certainly much better. And she was, I have to say, just awkward on stage, and a lot of floating and posing. And the performance just lacked that gravitas and grandeur and charisma that role needs. Glenn Close played it on Broadway. Patti LuPone played it on the West End. I wanted to love it, but I'm not certain why she was brought out.
Well, supposedly, I guess, because he's a star and she's a former wife, or still a wife of Lloyd Webber's. But to try and to recreate that extraordinary ghoulishness that Gloria Swanson brought to that part is if you've got a memory of that, it's a hard call to sit through the musical itself. Is there something you would recommend about it, though? I'll stop there.
Well, look, I have to say, which is what I'm getting to, but I needed to start with that particular thing, that Tim Draxel is wonderful as Joe Gillis. We were sitting beside a previous Joe Gillis from the first production, and various other people who've played it, but he was passionate, he was engaging, he was charming, he was biting and acerbic, and he was really trying, well, he wasn't trying to, make that relationship work, but he was doing his part of that relationship as the young, beleaguered screenwriter, failed or failing screenwriter who writes things that, aren't sentimental enough, and he ends up, virtually imprisoned or enslaved in this woman's house, and his sort of sex slave, I suppose. But there's this, and also a lovely performance, and terrific voice, lovely performance from Ashley Rubenach as Betty Schaffer, a very young production assistant who's also a screenwriter. Lovely performance. She was Nancy in Groundhog Day, for those who saw it. Loved her in that. So that couple really brightened the stage. And the ensemble, the choreography, the dance, the jazzy sort of ensemble songs about Hollywood, let's do lunch, people just sort of brushing each other off. That was really fun. I think that musically was, derivative, but also fun. And also Robert Grubble, though, as Max von Mayling, her Norma Desmond, sort of rather mysterious, floating into the background servant who ends up, we find out, her first husband. He was lovely songs, interesting characterization, but not a lot to work with that relationship.
We'll have to call it quits there, Kate.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Kate.
much.
Thanks
Lovely.
very much, Kate.
Thanks. Bye.
You've been listening to